everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. It's time for something a little bit different. Although flying the tri-jet is not different, but I want to start something here just for those rainy days when there's not much going on and looking for some ideas. So I thought it would be fun to carve out a few historic routes with some of the vintage aircraft that are in the hangar. And today is going to be actually flight number 1. We are going to be flying the Eastern Airline Whisperliner, as they like to call it, from Atlanta up to New York, John F. Kennedy International Airport to be exact. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get going here. But we got quite a cockpit preparation, APU starting, checklist running type of deal to get going. So we're going to go ahead and start right away into the checklist. Parking brakes are set. Pull up the external power, get it going. Head back here to the electrical panel, start the battery. Make sure that this stuff here is on battery. This has to be on external power right now. We should also get that on external power, and this should be on. Alright, this should also be turned on to B3G1. Alright, we have electricity. Back to the overhead panel. We will turn the fasten seatbelt and no smoking signs on. We do need to get the INS into standby mode so we can start warming up. And we will go ahead and turn our standby power on. I am not going to use GSX tonight, except for I am going to use the pushback tool, because I think I actually have that finally configured to work, and so I'm pretty excited about at least that much of it. And there's a little bit more configuring I need to do before the rest of it is going to be functional for me, but for now I think I can live with just the pushback tool. A friend Downwind Sim is checking in. He's listening in the car. Yes, I'm a little bit earlier than normal, but that's just kind of the way that my schedule worked out today. So hopped on, got a little bit of a block of time here. We got some plans that actually have come up for later on, and so I felt like probably be wise to get this in right now as opposed to later on. We'll see. Things can change around here with a 2-year-old grandson running around. You never quite know. So we're going to put in our position into the INS right now. We're at Hartsfield, Atlanta, north 3338.2, west 8425.7. So hopefully I can provide you with some in-car entertainment, and yeah, you can come back and check it out later on and see how the flight went. All right. We have our position set. Alright, we're going to go ahead and pop up the INS again here just from the two-dimensional call-up. Set that to align. And let's just make sure that that is actually starting to run its tests. Yes, indeed. So that should take about 10 minutes or so. It's a little quicker in the L10 than it is the DC-8. And I don't know if that's just a sim difference between Captain Sim and Aerosoft, or if that's actually a difference in the aircraft, because the L1011 is a little bit more modern than the DC-8, so perhaps the technology was a little better. I really don't know. Alright, we do have a little bit of air traffic online right now. Atlanta Tower and approach Power online, so I'm going to go ahead and tune in tower. I do need to get a clearance here. I'm curious to see just how close my file route actually is. Holy cow, we had a bunch of folks.
2502, read back correct. Push stars at your own discretion. Call me ready for taxi. Runway 9 right for departure. Atlanta 3008.
Roger, pushing stars at our discretion. Call ready for taxi. And we have the 3008. Call for taxi. That's 2502.
Atlanta Tower, good afternoon, Eastern 108 Heavy. Information uniform. I'd like to request IFR clearance to JFK. Oh, something I did.
Eastern 108 Heavy, Atlanta Tower. Here to John F. Kennedy International Airport via the Atlanta 9 departure. East 1 transition that is filed. Maintain 10,000. Expect flight level 370. 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 127.9er, squawk 7274.
Clear to JFK via the Atlanta 1 departure. East 1 transition then is filed. Will maintain 10,000. Expect 370. Departure frequency 127.9 and squawk 7274. Eastern 108 Heavy.
108 Heavy, read back correct. Pushing stars at your discretion. Call me ready for taxi. Expect runway 9 right for departure.
9 right, we'll call you for taxi.
Delta 4908.
Whoops.
Delta 4908, holding short 9 right, ready for takeoff.
Okay, so let's get a few things entered in here.
Delta 4908.
Before I forget, squawk code.
Fly heading 180.
We
Again,
are
180 on the heading. Runway 9 right.
74.
Clear to take off 9 right. Heading will be, repeat for the departure heading.
Delta 4906, big line departure heading is going to be 180 degrees.
Alright, so there's our squawk.
After departure heading 180, Delta 4908.
Put that on standby. Now it's time to enter our flight plan. Okay, so here's kind of the tricky part of this flight plan. I'm going to show it to you really quickly here. I don't want to get hung up on the, the ins and outs of everything that's going on here just right now, but the challenge of this particular aircraft is you only have 9 waypoints that you can enter in to your INS, and so you can see we've got, there's East 1, and then we have, over here to Greenwood, and then we have Tar River up here, and on and on and on. So there's quite a few waypoints that we have to enter in here.
4908, verify Charlie.
What I'm going to end up doing here, I believe, is just to make things simpler, is I'm going to enter in the waypoints into the INS all the way up until we hit our arrival. And when we hit the arrival, then I'm going to just use good old-fashioned radio navigation to fly that in. I'm just going to double check here. Actually might be okay. I'm seeing five VORs that would make really good waypoints, and then I'm going to check really quickly here. So here's the problem: you have 5 VORs up until you hit the arrival, which is the Cameron 1, and the Cameron 4. And then the Cameron 4. Let's see. Actually, with the Cameron 4, we might be okay. So we may be all right to just go ahead either way, and might not be bad to put cars in there. Cameron might be a good waypoint, but even at that, I guess my math a little off here. That's only still going to be 7 waypoints, and then JFK is number 8. So forget what I just said.
Business Unit,
Go ahead and
doing final.
put them all in
right
and
balance.
go from there. So we have Hartfield is already in. We are going to put Greenwood in.
5535, Atlantic
So
Tower.
I'm going to spin this
Wind
back
090
to
at 16, runway
waypoint.
90 right, clear to land.
This is waypoint number 1. It's Greenwood.
Clear to land.
Looking at my, by the way, if you don't know, SimBrief, awesome tool. It's given me all this information here, and this is an OBF where I'll put in my, so there's East 1, so Greenwood, I'm going to put in Tar River, Norfolk, I'm going to put in all these latitude and longitude information. That's how you program this old school SIVA. It's kind of fun, a little bit of a pain in the butt, but not awful here. Put remote so they go into both at the same time. Alright, so anyway, back to business here. Greenwood, our first waypoint is north 34151 and west 82092. I wish I could split screen that for you guys, but I just don't know a way to do that right now in OBF. Tar River is the second waypoint, and that is north 35586 and west 77422. Third waypoint, Norfolk, that is north 36535 and west 76120. Fourth waypoint is Snow Hill, north oh boy, hold on for a second. Let me go back here because I may have forgot to push enter. Alright, let's clear that out. We're going to clear all that out. Third waypoint back here to Norfolk, north 36535 insert, west 76 1 2, God darn it, west 76120. Alright, third time's the charm. If you don't get those right, your INS doesn't like you, and you get going all over the place, and so it's pretty important to get those in there. And I'm getting a little bit better at being more accurate, but every so often I will make mistakes there. So, alright, Snow Hill 38034, insert west 75278. And then Sea Isle, which is the transition into the arrival, north 39057, west 74480. And then the last waypoint you put in is your arrival airport. We could put in, again, we could put in some of these waypoints on the Cameron 4, but I think it'll be just as easy to fly those using our traditional radio navigation techniques, kind of slant whiskey, well, really slant alpha stuff, because we'll be low altitude. But Cameron, or excuse me, Kennedy itself is north 40384, and west
So the 2502 cross runway 9 left at Lima.
7346.
So you were to cross 9 left at Lima, that's 7502.
Okay, those are all in now, and alright, we're down to 0, which means we are officially aligned. And so I'm going to just pop the INS back up right now while I have it and put it into nav mode, and we'll be ready to rock and roll when the time comes. Close that window, let's get back to the checklist here. So waypoints are, flight plan is entered. I am going to put in, I do need to put in our load, fuel and planner. And again, this is all SimBrief information. They are telling me full passengers and block fuel in kilograms of 25,000 total. Loads up the tanks for you and keeps it nice and balanced. So we have 10 first class, we have 40 business class, and 200 coach. All right, that looks
So 2502, stand by for
like
wake
we're ready to go. That's an okay.
Roger that, for 2502.
Okay, we need to set the altimeter. It's just about time for us to get these engines going and get in the air. So altimeter 3008.
575, Atlanta, taxi to the gate via November, Sierra.
And just cross-checking here
911.
our airport elevation.
New York taxi via November, Sierra, crossing runway 09 left.
According to SkyVector, we should have an airport elevation of around 1,000 feet. So yeah, we're in good shape there. We're in good shape there. So our altitude, our initial altitude is 10,000 as mentioned. So we'll set that. And just taking a quick peek over here at the Atlanta.
2502, line at the rate.
What do we have here? Atlanta 5. Was that our departure?
11.89.
Atlanta 9. Excuse me.
513.
We are departing on Niner right. So we'll kind of be over on this guy here. We'll be heading 095. We're going out to East 1. So we can put our heading 095. Oops. A little too carried away there. Man, oh man. Sensitive, sensitive, sensitive. There we go. 095.
So 2502, RNAV compliance, runway 9 right, clear for takeoff.
Put our speed at 220.
Roger, clear takeoff 99. That's
20.
2502.
And I'm going to go ahead and arm that auto throttle. Maybe. Oh, may not let me until I get power going. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Arm that guy. Okay. Just about time, like I said, for the APU start. We don't need any overhead lights just yet. We will turn on anti-collision, strobe, and position. We are going to go ahead and disconnect the jetway. There it goes. Kind of spawned me a little bit. I can't quite spin around here, but kind of spawned me a little close, actually, to a little past that line there. So the jetway was having a bit of an issue locating locating where it was supposed to go. But
Roger, 127.9. Thanks very much.
Let's see if GSX. Well,
And
GSX
575
might.
seems like you passed
Well,
Sierra. If you have tagged with
So
the
much for
uniform on your right,
GSX being ready for
cross
us here.
99
Oh, there we go.
uniform,
Wait a
otherwise
second,
cross
wait a
at
second.
November 5.
Exit. Alright.
Very cruising on uniform.
Pull up GSX. Alright, request. Prepare for pushback
And
and
575.
departure. And I don't know, we're in an Eastern, so we'll just borrow a Delta tug just for the time being. And which way do we want to go? I need to see where I'm at here on my on my map, but I am going to use the Navigraph moving charts here to see where I'm at.
Do you have a case for me, Tower? 9575.
Do have this
Yeah,
programmed into
575,
both
negative,
Sky
that's
Vector
usually.
and
Trade
Navigraph
them if you'd like.
charts,
Roger, 575.
because there are a few things on charts that are kind of nice here. Alright, so we're going to Niner right. So he gave us the shortest runway in the whole shooting match here to depart. Well, that should still be okay, but alright, so we want to go down here, so we're going to do a nose left and tail right. Whoops, now I've lost my... GSX option here. Okay, push back. Nose left, tail right. And we will not start the engines before pushback. No, we're not going to do that. Alright. Like I said, quite the procedure to get this bird ready to rock and roll. I should have done my usual spiel before I even start this thing by saying, if you don't want to watch the entire startup procedure, maybe fast forward to about the 45-minute mark, although I'm getting a little bit better. Here it is, 30 minutes, and we're just about ready to start the engine. So, you know, we're getting there.
Hello, Captain. We're ready for pushback.
One thing I need to do before I get too crazy is I gotta get my APU going. Alright.
Locking gear.
I need that going before I disconnect the external power. Kind of called for the tug just maybe a skosh too early, but I think we'll be able to get this going. Alright, there we go. APU power up. Bleed air. Let this rise up and stabilize.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes.
Alright, I can disconnect the external power. Just in the nick of time. Parking brake is done now.
Start at will.
Alright, well that's going. I'm going to do a couple other things here. I need to turn the ATMs off. I need to bleed air pack controls need to come off. Alright. Everything else is good. Flaps are 0. And my fuel is off. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Boy, that almost scratched the paint there, guys. Come on. What are we doing? Boy, that thing really has to get down and dirty there to get that thing. Hate to have some kind of a gear failure here if you're driving that tug. I wonder if they have a little different way to do a plane like that with the gear so far underneath. Alright, we'll worry about that later. It's time to see if we can get this bird going.
Attention all aircraft on frequency Atlanta approach is now closed. Departure frequency is going to be on Unicom 22.8. Stay with me though for now.
Okay, we're going to click that over. We got a little bit of action here in the N2, which is a good thing. Let that guy get up to 20%. Introduce the power, and we're good to go. Oh boy, and I got this guy here that pushed back. I'm sorry, buddy. That's real traffic. I need to apologize to whoever that was. I didn't notice he was coming. So whoever you are, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to get in your way. He's gonna zip around me there. And that's the issue with not having ground, is that, oh, he's coming in. So alright, I just convinced him to
Unlocking gear.
to just go to Bravo 1-3. Alright, number 2 almost up to 20%.
Tower 575 on the blocks.
535, Roger, hope you enjoyed your flight. Fine.
for your services, 575.
I think that might have been the guy I just pushed out in front of. Okay, engine 2
Tow
up
truck
and
disconnected.
running.
Bypass bin removed.
And those guys are getting away from me here. Part of these historic flights is also a chance for me to just practice all the different things that you have to do to get a plane up and running. And
Regional
so,
aircraft on frequency Atlanta Tower is going to be shutting down in 5 minutes.
alright, maybe I'll have a chance to at least get taxi clearance. And then we're on our own from here on out, but that's okay.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Can't see where the guy is. Usually I can see him. He's waving at us somewhere. Yep, not sure where he ended up, but appreciate the help there, Mr. Tug guy. Mr. Marshall guy. Alright, so now that we have everything going here, we can, I'm going to head back over here. Oh, there he goes. Yep, he's out of there. Alright, we can go ahead and turn off the bleed air, and we can stop the APU. We just needed it just for that quick start up there. Pack controls can come back on. Get the air conditioning going to our passengers, and the ATM, just part of our hydraulic system, can come back on as well. In the meantime, here we are, okay, we're on battery, we're on Gen 3, and actually we need to be on the inverter, yeah, the inverter here, sorry. That can stay on battery. We are no longer external power, and that automatically turns off as well. I do need to do, let's see, what else before we go? Cabin pressure, we are filed for 370, so I'm going to spin that up to 370. Currently, again, we were 3008. That's our cabin altitude. We're just trying to keep it right where we are right now. And everything else there I think looks pretty good. Barrow set. Don't need to kind of come back over here. Don't need any anti-ice. All that stuff is kind of right here. Emergency lights, we are going to arm those guys. Looking for a V1 of 140, a VR of 160, and a V2 of 180. Again, those are all estimates, as I'm still searching for really documentation I can really trust as far as that goes. Alright, instrument lights, I'm not going to turn anything on just yet. Let's check the controls. Full right, center, full left, center, full back, full forward, center, rudder right, center, rudder left, center. And again, all that stuff is conveniently displayed right down here. Pretty cool. Anti-skid can come off. Strobe is on. Taxi lights will come on. And I think we're ready. Flaps to 10. I think we're ready to call for taxi here. So I think the controller might be waiting for us. And Tower Eastern 108 Heavy, ready for taxi.
Houston 108 Heavy, runway 90 right, taxi via Lima Papa, hold short, runway 90 left at Lima.
Lima Papa, hold short 9er left at Papa. Eastern 108 Heavy. Okay, down, take a right. First right-hand turn is what we will be taking. Let's see, we'll clear that out. Release the brakes. Take a little bit. I'm at just a little over 25% thrust with all three engines to get things going here. Okay, I think we're ready to rock and roll here. Let's just do some looking outside just for a minute. Can't get too carried away with the cinematics here, because I do need to try to make sure that we don't taxi into the grass. This is a tough plane to pull out when you get it stuck, so let's not do that. Down to the end, and we'll make that left-hand turn at the end. We'll hold short of 9er left, we'll get the clearance to cross, and then we'll be 9er right, and ready to roll. Wind's currently 090 at 16, so a bit of a windy day, but it's fortunately for us kind of coming right down the runway, so it should help our taxi roll here. And we're not, again, it's a short flight, so we're not super heavy. Quite a few passengers on board. Well, we're full, but fuel-wise, you know, only at about probably, you know, not a little bit over, I think, a third of what we, well, maybe not even that, actually.
Eastern 108, cross runway 9er left at Lima.
Cross 9er left at Lima, Eastern 108 heavy. A few stutters here. It's interesting to see how each add-on interacts with the other. Alright, so we're across here. This is, I think this is November. Yep, November. Kind of runs in between the two runways here. And then our next one coming up is the one we need, 9er right. And we'll be ready to go. We'll take a quick look before takeoff checklist. Continuous ignition needs to come on. That's right over here. Alright, not yet been cleared to enter the runway. Strobe is on. Landing lights will come on.
Eastern 108, fly the Atlanta 9 departure, runway 9er right, clear for takeoff.
Fly to departure, runway 9er clear for takeoff, Eastern 108 heavy. Alright, so I am now going to arm the... I guess I have to wait. I'm so sorry. Can we turn on at least our flight directors? Yes, we can. Okay. Yes, we can. Can I arm my altitude? Yes, I can. Alright, a few things I can do here, I guess. And then... one thing I have not done is I'm not turning this on to normal. I'm still squawking standby, which is not good. And I need to turn on my weather. Let that warm up for just a second. Weather guy is over here. Not anticipating a lot of weather activity just right out of the chute, but kind of nice to have that just in case. Pop that up to normal mode. We'll get lined up. It's going to take us just one more second This is definitely not an airplane that I like to hurry because I have actually had a few pretty ugly departures if you don't have everything just ready to go. Downwind Sim saying he's just east and of MTO at another band competition. Alright, how fun, man. Great way to spend your Saturday. I spent my Saturday morning till about lunchtime, kind of up watching a little bit, working a little middle school football. So that was also fun. Alright, a couple last minute things to take care of here. I do need to go ahead and turn the master APU power off. And then let's make sure all of our... Oops, I still have anti-skid on. I thought I clicked that off. There we go. Alright, our annunciator panel is clear. We are going to go ahead and I am going to put in, even though we're flying this departure, we're going to be jumping pretty much on the autopilot as soon as possible. I am going to put Atlanta 16-9 in there just in case we need a little extra navigational assistance. And we will be flying, this is approximately a 070 course. It's an outbound radial that will be trying to intercept here as we go to the East 1 transition. Probably could have had that set before I taxied, but alright. I think we are finally ready. Let's go. Let's go flying. I am in the heavy today, downwind. We're having some fun on a, I'm calling it a historic routes series, I guess, for better or for worse. And I'll talk a little bit more about that once we're airborne. It's going to be 2.5 hours of me talking to you, so I don't want to give everything away. Plus, I can't take off and talk about stuff, you know, that at the same time. There's V1. Rotate. We are airborne. Gear up.
Eastern 108, Monitor Unicom 12.8. Unfortunately, no further agencies available. Have an awesome flight.
Over to Unicom. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time, Eastern 108 Heavy. Alright, so we're flying our 095, which is initially where we go until we're kind of stabilized here. We're going to bring up the flaps, and we're looking for 220, which is what we have right now. About a 2,000 feet per minute heading will get us where we're going. Let's throw in the autopilot, and now we can try to intercept EA1, which is East 1. So if we head about 060, put heading mode on, we're going to leave our VS mode. We're going to put our VS mode on about, we can go a little bit more, probably about 15. Oh, it's giving me a little alpha signal here, which is telling me that it's actually, it shouldn't be working too hard to maintain 220. Here I'm only going 1,500 feet. Alright, flaps are all the way up, gear is up, and tracking out towards East 1. 35 DME is what we're looking for here, and that's counting up as so. That looks like that radial is coming into play nicely. And once we get to that waypoint, then we will make a slide right-hand turn, and we'll start heading out towards our first VOR. And we'll just kind of stay on this stay on this track. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of extra speed here. Alright, spin that back over to 070, so our course and our heading match up for the most part. Alright, climbing nicely, maintaining our speed. Yep, we're not working too hard with the engines. I do have a tendency to push these engines a little bit harder than they need to be pushed, and I don't want to do that if I can help it. Good afternoon, Al South. Nice to see you, sir. Welcome to Eastern Airlines Flight 108 non-stop service from Atlanta to John F. Kennedy. Yep, trying to do better, without a doubt. Okay, let me... So far, so good. Closing in on 10,000. Since we are Unicom, probably should go there. 2280. Maybe we'll get some air traffic in between. You never know. And these guys just had a huge event down in this area yesterday, so everybody might be sleeping in. Go ahead and spin this guy up to my final altitude here, 350. Arm that. We get to 10,000, and then what it was customary to do was to level out slightly and increase the speed to 300, so about 1,000 away from that. Getting pushed a little bit left of course here, but nothing we can't handle. Alright, our next waypoint, by the way, is Greenwood. That's coming up here, and that's 115.5. That's going to be... Oops, I've lost my Sky Vector. What happened to Sky Vector? I don't know. Well, I try to find Sky Vector. Let me pull the climb rate down to 1,000. We're going to go ahead and spin this up to 300. That's the climb power that was traditionally set in this aircraft. Alright, there we go. So, the main reason I like to still use Sky Vector is that I guess I'm maybe just used to this view a little bit better. So, this is where we are currently. We're currently right on this little leg here. We're going to hit East 1, and then we're going to head to Greenwood, and that's a 080 radial. So I need to make sure that oh, I know where my Sky Vector went. Just about there. As soon as we get to that, again, that first leg out to East 1 was 35 DME. Alright, now we're at 300. Go ahead and spin this guy back up. We should be able to climb out pretty close to 2,000 for most of the rest of the flight. We can turn the landing and taxi lights off. We can turn the continuous ignition off. Yep, we're kind of almost through, but we're 31 DME, so I'm not going to get too crazy about trying to chase that outbound. Just about to spin it. We're already almost there, so I am going to nudge it over to 080 and 15.5 coming up here. Just about another mile. Actually, I can go ahead and do that since I'm in heading mode right now. It won't hurt anything. 15.5 should pick up that. No, it has not. So it's not going to pick up that VOR just yet. But that's okay. We can just do this instead. We're going to go ahead and turn our FMS on. And engage the nav. No, sorry, not engage the nav. So here's where I need my, there we go. Alright. Here's where I need extra practice. So turn the FMS on. Engages the autopilot. It engages the SIVA. SIVA now will take over the heading mode. And it's going to take me out to Greenwood. I am going to leave Greenwood tuned in right here, and then when this VOR becomes active, I'll know a little bit. Although it is giving me a nice, nope, lost my DME and everything. So, all right, we're going strictly on SIVA right now. So that's a good thing to have, kind of that redundancy. Okay, so this little light down here, this is telling me what Al South was warning me about. Don't push the engines too hard. So engine vibration warning means that I am redlining somewhere. So if I come over, look here, yeah, those guys are getting there a little bit. Engine 1's not doing too bad, but 2 and 3 are getting up there close to redline. Let's see what's happening down here. Yeah, again, not horrible. Maybe we'll bump it back to about 1800 instead of 2000. Don't have to be in a huge hurry here. Got plenty of time. Get to our cruise. Right now we are direct Greenwood. And from there, yeah, let's pretty much sit back and kind of enjoy, because we have a little bit of time to just make sure everything is configured right. We monitor the fuel, we monitor the pressures and temperatures, all that good stuff. I'm going to do the quick after takeoff checklist. Gear is up and should be stowed. Let me see if I can get, I always have trouble with that part of it. There's gear is stowed. Flaps are up. Climb power is set. Landing lights, continuous ignition both off. We are closing in. Oh, in fact, there we go. We just passed the transition altitude. So we'll go 29 or 9 or 2. We can go ahead through the transition. We can release the cabin crew. We'll leave the fasten seatbelt signs on. And alright, from here on out, now what we're looking for are really two things. We want to make sure that we are not overstressing, redlining the engines. And then when we get up to, I'm going to shoot for a Mach 0.8 cruise today. As soon as we get up to 0.8, then we're going to just slowly back off the speed and just try to get that cruise power set. I'm a little surprised at this point, though, that we don't have that VOR tuned in, the Greenwood VOR, but that's, oh, there we go. As soon as I said that, there it was. So again, what did we say our 080 was our outbound course, so we will slide that over, and we are a little bit right of that right now, so we may have jumped on that radial a little before we got to the East 1 transition. closing in on that now. 50, just about 53 DME. So we have a little bit of time to talk about what in the world this is all about. Well, let me tell you what this is all about. A while ago, our good friend, our mutual friend of Downwind South and Al South, Downwind South, Downwind Sim and Al South, or Downwind South and Al Sim, MIA. Our flight sim friend, Slan Alpha Adventure, introduced me to a pretty darn cool resource called departedflights.com, and I had researched quite a bit this type of information for, you know, old historic routes from this place to that place, and I never had really found a single resource that was as good as this one. So he's partly to blame, I guess, for this. And here's what we're able to do with this. This is from 1972. So this is, I don't know if it says 1972 on this particular, but if you go back to the main page and backtrack it, trust me, 1972. So we are Atlanta, Georgia. It's where we departed. And what I've done is I've tried to find all of the L1011 routes that this is Eastern Airlines, this particular company flew back in the day. And one of them happened to be here to New York/New Jersey. And it was anyone that's marked like this, flight with the Whisperliner, that was done with the L1011. The rest of these, I have no idea what they were flown with. They operated a lot of different airplanes. So, but I know that Flight 108, which is what we're in, Eastern 108, is with the Whisperliner. And I know with this little K here, and I doubt you can see this, but if you have a chance to zoom in or view it on a bigger screen, there's a little K right here. This is the departure time, 3:50. This is the arrival time, 5:30, which we were pretty close to departing. Well, no, we were way off. Never mind. We departed about an hour early. But there's a little K right here, and that means it's going to Kennedy, because they flew into Kennedy, LaGuardia, and Newark, as well as Washington National. So you'll see those little, if you look at this yourself, departedflights.com, you go to the eastern portion, you'll see all those little symbols over here. So that's what I did, is I researched those and decided to pick out a few flights that were, I guess, historically significant to some of the aircraft that I happen to have in my hangar, which the L1011 is one of those, and the Eastern livery I happen to have. And so then I started looking at some of my other planes that I had with some of the other liveries that I had, and I realized that there might be a little bit of a, kind of a fun sort of, series that I could put together. And so I'm calling it Historic Flights. This is or Historic Routes. This is flight number 1, Atlanta to Kennedy. And this actually is a part of a, well, they had a direct flight as you saw, but this Kennedy and Atlanta were two airports, along with Miami, that were common in one-stop routes. So, it's like, for example, this Eastern flew from the Bahamas up to New York, and so they would stop at Miami on their way up to New York, or they would fly from New York down to places. I think they had some routes down to Mexico and Cancun and stuff like that, and they would stop at Atlanta on their way through. It was very common to kind of use Kennedy, Atlanta, and Miami as, they weren't hubs per se, but they just were common stopping points. And so even though what I'm doing really is just one leg at a time, just because I only generally have a couple of hours that I can peel off and do one of these things. But just understand that this route here was probably either well, it's probably the back end of a lot of sort of one-stop routes. Now, I can show you some of those a little bit later on, but I want to make sure we get up to cruise here. Everything else is looking good. 0.79er. We are getting over the top of some storms, and actually that's not picking up those storms, so we must be already over the top of them. What do I have set here for my weather? Maybe I need to go back to normal here. I might have. Oh, I could tilt that down and probably pick up that storm, but I think we'll just leave it as it is. See if it picks anything up. Yeah, nothing yet. We're 9 miles out from Greenwood. After Greenwood, we should be turning on a 064 heading, and this is a pretty long leg, one of the longer legs here. That's up to Tar River. We will put Tar River 1780 in our radio number 2. I would doubt we would tune that in right away. But we'll put it in over here. Yeah, we'll just see when that comes alive. That's just kind of nice, again, as a backup, just in case we are... from 1 to 2. It's so it's already, my INS has already gone past Greenwood, because Greenwood was my first waypoint, and then number 2 was Tar River. So it's telling me we're 240. This isn't quite there just yet, but it'll catch up a little bit after the fact. Yep. And so there the SIVA is turning us just a little bit here. Looks like about a 066 or something like that. Yep, 066 heading, and taking us on our way up to Tar River. 064 is actually the outbound radial, so we'll spin that over again. This is just redundancy. Like if you're flying the PMDG 737 and you engage your FMC and then you're updating your heading knob, that's exactly what we're doing here, just in case we would have a failure of some kind with our INS. It's as easy as just popping this on to nav mode, and we can just take over and fly it just like we would without the INS. So it's just, again, a little bit of a backup, a little bit of a redundant deal, and I kind of like it. Alright, enough of me yammering about. We need to take a look outside of this beautiful Whisperliner just for a little bit, so enjoy the sights and sounds. track here. Out south is, no, downwind's in. What's flashing? So I'm assuming I have all this stuff. I have the strobe. You can't see position strobe. What is that guy there? I'm thinking that must be my strobe. Position, strobe, and nav, or no, anti-collision is on. So one of them, I guess, could be the anti-collision. And no, out south, my mic was muted. I had to go back and use one of the I think 5 bathrooms that they had in this particular plane. Okay, everything is going pretty well right now. The only thing that's a little bit weird is my DME. Well, maybe not. I'm gonna have to do some math here. We're tracking about 50 miles to the northeast of Greenwood and 193 miles away from Tar River. So let's look and let's just do some math here, because it's always good to do math. I'm an ex-high school math teacher. So 242. So if we said 50 plus 190, oh, that's pretty darn close, guys. So we are in fact on track, and we're not heading out to, you know, parts unknown. We're not heading out into the Atlantic Ocean. Do we have our... We don't have our VOR in. What are we? Are tracking something though. 54 miles, 50. Oh, we're tracking outbound. Yeah, I don't know why we are. That should be. Okay, that's just interesting. I don't know. Alright, so let me tell you just a little bit more about, since I'm kind of a flight history geek. Here are some of the things I found. The reason why I started with Eastern Airlines, by the way, is there's actually somebody else who's a little bit to blame for this particular series of flights, and that is a simmer by the name of Agent Bravo 7. And she actually just, I think a week or so ago, flew kind of her equivalent, I guess, in a Delta Airlines L1011. And so I loved the idea, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like fun. I want to do something similar to that. But I didn't want to just do the Delta. I mean, I didn't want to completely go all fanboy on Agent Bravo 7. So that's why I didn't pick the Delta, because I do have the Delta livery, and it's the Delta L1011 has a really, really cool history also. But the reason I picked Eastern is because it was the easiest one to find confirmation on those old-time flight manifestos, those old-time schedules. It was the easiest one to actually see which one was an L1011 route, because a lot of these, if you go back, and let me show you some of this, what I'm talking about. If you go back into departed flights, and you know, there's a lot of stuff up here that you can look at, but the ones that I really, this is where you get the complete airline timetables. So, I mean, it has almost every airplane imaginable, every company that's operated. So that was the one I was looking at, was Eastern Airlines from 1972. But they're not all that easy to figure out. For example, another airplane or another company that did use L1011s was American. So American Airlines in 1979, they had some L1011s. So if I click on their page and I go to, again, let's just say I go to, someplace, like Chicago ought to have, you know, some L-1011s. Well, the way they have their flight routes laid out is it's not so easy to figure out what type of plane actually was flown. And in fact, as I was looking at American, by just checking the flight schedules, I could not determine. I mean, it does say things like this. Well, maybe I picked the wrong year, but it does say things like this: the Astro series, popular and classic music featured on most 707s, DC-10s, and 747s. So it does indicate, and again, I have the wrong year because they flew the 707 as well as the L-1011, but regardless, there's no way to jump up here and really know which one of those is, you know, is this one to Kennedy here, 528, is it a 707 route, is it a 747 DC-10? There's really no way to tell. So after banging my head against the wall for a little while, I did come across, because this wasn't the only resource that I messed with, but I did come across a guy that mentioned that Eastern is nice in that it does point out specifically the routes that are flown by the L-1011. So that's where I started, and I was able to find a few more. Obviously there were, let me see here, actually found quite a few more routes just in the United States here. And they obviously they focused most of their activity in the L-1011 on the East Coast, you know, between like I mentioned, Kennedy, Atlanta, Miami. They also went to Tampa, St. Pete. They did fly to San Juan. There's also flights to Chattanooga, Houston, Kingston, Jamaica, Montego Bay, Bermuda, Freeport, and Nassau. So they really like to get down that southeastern Caribbean area, you know, Bermuda area as well. So that was kind of their focus. But like I mentioned before, most of the routes that went down into these areas, like for example, there was a route that went Eastern 444. It went from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Atlanta to Kennedy, and that fascinates me a little bit, because that route from Chattanooga to Atlanta it's like 90 miles. I mean, it's I don't even know what. I mean, but that's just how they did it back then. Is they would pick up some people from Chattanooga, and they would pick up a few more in Atlanta, and then they would take them all up to Kennedy, and then they would turn back around probably later on that evening, or maybe even that next day, and fly the flight in reverse. So anyway, there's a couple of them like that. Even the one that went, there's a flight that went from Kennedy to Kennedy to Nassau, and it had a stop at Miami. So, you know, Kennedy to Miami, that's actually another route we're going to fly at another time. But the Miami to Nassau route, again, it's another one that's like barely 100 miles. So that's just super interesting, because of course nowadays what you would do if you had a stop in Miami and a little short leg is you would hop on an Embraer 145 or something small, or you know, maybe even a Beechcraft 1900 or something. But back then they just kept them all on, and I'm sure you maybe remember those days where you would be parked at the ramp, and half the plane would get up and they'd leave, and you'd stay and hang out, and then there'd be some more people that'd come on, and you went on your merry way. That's just kind of, again, how they did it back then. So it's just interesting. That kind of stuff, I think, is pretty dang cool. All right, let's check. don't know that we have necessarily. We're 60 miles away from Greenville. 60. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's our heading. We've lost our DME, so we might as well switch it over here. We're completely INS right now, and it's telling us we're about 115 miles, so just about 13 and a half minutes from where we make our turn and start to head a little bit to the north. So there we were at Greenwood. I think I've been saying Greenville, sorry about that. You know, we're in that kind of not quite halfway-ish, well, no, maybe a little, yeah, right about halfway, I guess. Tar River, and then we make our turn and we start heading up the coast. This is Norfolk, and then that's the SWL, I don't remember what that one is, Snow Hill, and then Sea Isle. Sea Isle is the beginning of the Cameron 4, and we'll be heading into Kennedy here. Don't quite have, probably a little too far out to start looking for weather information, things like that, but we'll do that here in just a little bit. Yeah, downwind, it's a kick in the butt, man. And I've actually found several really good resources that I'm excited to share as these flights continue. Right now I have planned with the L1011, with the Eastern Airlines L1011, I'm planning on doing this flight into Kennedy, and then we're going to turn around the next time that we're together. I'm going to make the flight from Kennedy down to Miami, and then we'll turn around and probably fly the same route in reverse. And then I actually have found some routes for the old TWA L1011s, and they didn't call them Whisperliners, I don't believe, but they call them the Tri-Stars. But I've got a couple of TWA routes that should be fun, and there's many. I mean, there's lots of companies that I think they made 125 L1011s, and there were, oh shoot, I don't even know, 20 or so aircraft that or companies that ended up purchasing them, and so there are a lot of options. But I also want to, I've got a few other vintage aircraft that I want to do this with, so I have a few routes set up with the DC-8, which should be fun. I've got a few routes that I'm researching currently for the 737-200, which again I think is going to be a lot of fun. And then I also of course have the DC-3 that again have a bunch of, even though the DC-3 and to some extent the 737-200 are still in effect, especially, or are still in use. The DC-3 especially is in use, but I want to be able to just mix it up a little bit. And again, this is not going to be, I'm sure, not a weekly thing, just kind of an every now and again thing. But you know, winters get kind of long around here, and it's kind of nice to have a little something something else to do. Can I get into Plum Island? Well, you know what, I need to do that again because I've flown out of it now twice, and I have not successfully flown back in to Plum Island. Maybe the next GA event that they have up Boston way, I'll try to get my try to get organized a little earlier, get in the air a little bit earlier, so that we can make that trip into Plum Island, because it's a cool little airport. It's got a grass runway as well as a beat up old cement concrete sort of runway. It's a neat little place right there, kind of on the water's edge. Downwind saying his first commercial flight was an L1011 from St. Louis to Newark. No kidding. What year was that? Do you remember? I didn't know Newark had a runway big enough for the old Whisperliner. We're waiting for Downwind Sim to dig back in the memory banks to see which year it was, and then we're going to go see if we can find it. TWA, St. Louis to Newark. Come on, give me a year, Downwind. Don't leave me hanging. Uh-oh, I heard a big bonk upstairs. The junior first officer, I think, is awake. Uh-oh, and has cratered. He's into jumping off things now, so maybe has overshot the approach, if you know what I mean. 1985 or 86. Okay, cool. So 85, 86. Let's see if we can find. We're gonna check this out. I don't know. It's a little bit limited. It's not. This is not like a complete and total data bank of everything ever flown. But what do we have here? TWA. I have 84. Shoot, we may just miss it. I don't know. Let's see. Well, the route might have been going before that, but I'm not seeing St. Louis. Newark. I wonder if we could do Newark here. Things were pretty, by the mid-80s, things were pretty volatile in the old L1011 world and the TWA world. Last chance to check is 2001. Looking for you, St. Louis. There we go. Let's see if that route was still going in 2001, maybe. So St. Louis to Newark. Oh yeah, this is going to be. Oh, they do have the type of flight listed here, but by 2001, I think all of the L1011s were pretty much done. They weren't. They were no longer in use. St. Louis to. Wait, Newark is EWR. Yeah, we might not be able to find that for you, my friend. EWR. Well, there we go. Yeah, but they were all, according to this, they were all MD-80s by the time 2001 rolled around. But there were several of them that were flying 2, 4, 6, 7 flights a day, basically. St. Louis and Newark. Yep, we're missing. We need that. We need that somewhere in between 84 and 2001. Let's look at 81 just to see if St. Louis was maybe in the mix in 81, but not in. Yep, don't see it. So St. Louis must have come on board after 1984. You know, the beauty part of this downwind is we can say you were on the first ever flight from St. Louis to Newark on an L1011, and no one would be able to disprove us. Yep, even yeah, I'm not seeing anything out of St. Louis on any of these before 1984. Well, there's Newark. In 1971, it was Albuquerque, Amarillo, Boston, Chicago, Cincy, Cleveland, Columbus, Denver, and yeah. again, this would be, in this particular case, it's pretty tough. Even though I did find a couple, it's pretty tough to pick out which ones are L1011 routes and which one are not L1011 routes. Oh, there's St. Louis. Okay, Newark to St. Louis. All right, so here's what in the and it may not say it here. You may not be able to see it here. At one point in time there, I did find a key to reading these, and all these ones here that are bold, those are the wide bodies, and depending on the year, like 1972, it's a very good chance that if it was a wide body, then it was an L1011. So this is, here we go. We got potentially, we could be reliving downwind sim history here, even though this is 1972, not 1985 or 86. But I see a non-stop. This would be Newark. Nope, that has a stop. I'm not seeing a wide body here. I'm seeing flights from Newark non-stop to St. Louis, but these are probably talking about like 737 200s. I don't know what would be flying. What would TWA be flying on these smaller routes in 1972? But yeah, this one here is a wide body, but it's from LaGuardia. Now we'll keep flipping. We have a little bit of time here. We have time to research downwind sims. Glory days. Oh, I just passed St. Louis. Darn it. Alright, St. Louis. Nope, that's Oklahoma City, sorry. I need to sing the alphabet song because S comes after O. Pittsburgh. As you can see, there's a lot to sort through. Oh, God darn it, there was St. Louis. Alright, St. Louis. Do we have Newark? Alright, yes we do. LaGuardia, JFK. Here's a Newark. And this is a non-stop. So TWA flight 402 or flight 716 in 1972 they made that trip, and then here's nope, sorry, 716 went into JFK, so 402 108 are two potentials. So at this point though, I don't know if you know, I mean, it would take a lot of digging into this particular chunk of information to figure out which flight was which airplane. So we'd have to really look, but you know, that's the kind of stuff I've been spending like the last month doing. So and you're right, Downwind, it's awesome that stuff is. Thank you, whoever it was that scanned this information and just thought enough to do that. What an amazing piece of history. Alright, in the meantime, where the heck are we here? I think we're starting to head up the coast, even though you can't see because of the clouds and the storm. My storm radar is not showing anything, but that doesn't mean anything. Alright, we're between waypoints 2 and 3, which I'm going to double check here. 2 and 3, so we're between Tar River and Norfolk. Now we are supposed to be on the 209, the Juliet 209 airway. So let me pull that over here real fast. Let's take a look together and make sure that we're doing that. Make sure there's not a bend in the road here. And there kind of is, actually. I should be tracking right here to, what is that? Sod? If I'm really on the 209, I should be, yeah, it's Painter Field or Elwood or Sod. I really should be tracking that guy right there, and I'm not. I'm kind of, my INS is taking me directly from Norfolk to Snow Hill. So really, if I was doing this right, and I kind of got busy looking at old flight data, so I'm not going to do that right now, but I should jump out of, technically jump out of the INS, and I should track this 030 radial outbound until I get to Sod, and then I should turn and track this 219 inbound until I get up here to Snow Hill. But I think ATC would forgive us for not doing that because it's not a huge discrepancy here. But that technically is what I should have done. Alright, we'll pretend that we ever saw that though. And I'm going to tune in Snow Hill to 112.4. Let's just see if it actually pops up. It's a little bit shorter leg, so we might become active sooner. No, not quite. Yeah, only 64 miles to go. So let me show you how off I am right here. I should be on a, if I was following the VOR, I'd be on an outbound 030. Yeah, so you can see I'm quite a ways to the right, actually, where I'm supposed to be. Sky Vector doesn't show it being that big of a difference, but wait a second, maybe I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I should be on a 06058 right now, of course, outbound. Okay, so that's actually, we're close to being right on the money. So, all right, here's where I'm at. And I'm going to try to fly this the right way. We're Tar River, and here is Norfolk. So we're in between right now. So I am going to try to fly this correctly. So Norfolk is tuned 116.9. Let's get that tuned in here. 16.9er. And then from Norfolk, we're going to fly a 030 outbound radial. And that is going to be here. So you're welcome, Downwind Sim. Now you can do me a favor and help me with this one. So here we go. If we're going to hit Norfolk, we're going to turn 030 instead of going direct and cutting the corner here, even though it's not much of a corner to cut to Snow Hill, but we're going to try to fly this leg. Is this leg here 42? I'm seeing 42 here as being the halfway point, right? So I chase this 42 outbound, and then I chase it the rest of the way inbound. Is that how you read that? Is that what that indicates? It's usually that little marking there denotes halfway in between. Is that correct? 030 for 42 DME. That's what I'm shooting for. We're going to go with that. So we're 40 miles. there from Norfolk. And once we get a little closer to that, that's matching up. That's saying 38, that's saying 38, so that makes me feel like we know where we are now. Took me a second. Once that gets a little closer, then we'll pop it over to heading mode. Actually turn the FMS over to VOR, because that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using VOR navigation along with heading mode to track this little leg here. Okay. Confirmation from the unofficial CFI of the channel. Feel good. Just kidding, buddy. I tell you what, once we get to Snow Hill, it's one more little 70-mile leg and we're on the departure. So we're closing in a hurry, and we do have, it's kind of nice, we do have some New York Center that's popped online here, so at least for the arrival we should have a little bit of ATC. We'll probably, this map here doesn't really do it justice. Yeah, New York Center. We'll actually probably check in maybe a little bit more like where American 117 is, maybe a little bit closer to that'd be Tar River. We're past Tar River, sorry, Snow Hill. Because we are going to have to start thinking descent here at a certain point as well, and we don't want to wait till we get to New York Center. Usually Washington Center is the one that gives you the descent clearance. Alright, real quick, a little peek outside, sights and sounds, before we start getting busy navigating. Okay, I think we're making our turn here. Ready or not, here we go. So, pop it out. We're going to go to 030. We have our VOR tuned in. We're going to track this radial out 40, I lost my number here, 42 miles, right? 40, yep, 42 DME. So we're come around. In the meantime, SEVA is going to continue doing what they're doing. It's ready to go from 3 to 4. It's saying we have 73 miles. It's a short leg. To the right of course here, so we're going to keep it coming to about a 0.25. Won't take us long to get to 42, as you can see there. And then then we need a 219 inbound radial. So 219 inbound is going to be, let's see, 180 from 219 would be what, 50, 59, is that right? I've already done a little bit of math. I don't want to do too much math here. There we go. That guy's getting centered up pretty nice. Slide it back. And when you're tracking that outbound again, this has always been something I'm not great at, so just try to kind of get in the neighborhood. Keep it fairly close. So much of it depends too on the wind, and right now, if we look at it, we can go to the wind. It's a 309er at 31. So honestly, we're gonna be pushed a little to the right. So the wind's kind of coming right off of our left-hand side. So we should be crabbing into the wind just a little bit. We seem to be holding our course pretty well. Again, we're looking for 42. That gives us the halfway point, and then we're going to make our turn to the 219 inbound. There's 42, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to make our turn. Again, 219 on the inbound. I think that is a think I said 59, 39. That'll get us to 219 or thereabouts. Spin that course there as well. And now we actually should be tracking. We can track inbound here, Snow Hill 112.4. Spin that over. That'll come alive. Yeah, we're pretty close. We might as well, we haven't done this a whole heck of a lot. We might as well go ahead and use our nav. See how bad it S-curves us here. It's going to slide us to the right just a little bit to... Actually, I think I need to take the heading off. And we may be close enough that it's not too worried about that, honestly. Let's make sure here. Again, we're on VOR. We turn on the nav mode, take off heading. You know, one thing I haven't done that I was supposed to do? Remember what Mach I was shooting for? 0.80. We have been wasting a lot of company money here. We're at 0.85. So let me make a quick adjustment here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's spin it back to about 270. Yeah, our engines have been working overtime. So we're not really picking up that VOR. We're 20 miles out right now, and I'm not sure, again, exactly why. Localizer mode is active, or VOR mode is active. We could at this point re-engage the INS if we wanted to as well. We're 17 miles out. Maybe we should do that. I think we will do that. Back to heading mode, go to FMC. Now it's gonna... Yep, there we go. INS is saying, hey, we got to make a little bit of a turn here to catch up, which is, well, what you would expect based on the data that we're given here. I'm not sure why that VOR didn't pick up better than it did. So it's going to get us back on this track. Actually, it's not going to worry about the track. It's going to track us right now to Snow Hill. And then as soon as we hit Snow Hill, which is only in 11 miles, then it's going to shoot us a little bit further along to Sea Isle, which Sea Isle is just about on the same track. So we kind of got out here just a little bit. It's shooting us back to Snow Hill. And then it should spit us out here on about a 034 heading to Sea Isle. And I think actually what I'm going to do here is I might contact New York Center. It might be just a bit early, but he can let us know, because we're going to have to start some descent planning if we're not going to be able to contact him. All right, 12532. Flip that over. And let's talk to Center. New York Center, good afternoon. Eastern 108 Heavy. I'm not sure if I'm in your airspace just yet. We just passed over Snow Hill. We're at 350.
Eastern, New York City, good afternoon. Not yet, but you can give me a call over to Hogs at flight level 180.
Alright, at Hogs 180, we'll give you a call, Eastern 108 Heavy. Alright, so that...
There's 122, see you
that's a hint, by the way. That's what we call in the industry a hint. Time to start to descend.
We're only too far. Yeah, we were 200.
Figure out where Hogs is here in just a second, but...
Make a pattern entry.
Oh, actually, we've got some time. Alright, hang. Not a lot of time, though. So we've just crossed Snow Hill, heading to Tar River, or Sea Isle, which is where the approach starts. There's Hogs. So at about, 25 miles past Sea Isle, we need to be down to 180. So yeah, actually it's time for us to start our descent. We will do that. And we did get back down to a more reasonable Mach number. 0.78 is actually a little bit low, but so be it. Alright, so I'm going to come out of altitude hold and I'm going to start the descent. We're going to go about 1,500 feet. We've got 60 miles to Sea Isle and then 25 miles after that. So we're like 85 miles and we need to lose quite a bit of altitude. 350 to 180, so it's 17,000 feet. 17,000 feet in 80 miles. Yeah, we're going to really need to increase our descent rate here, aren't we? We're going to go about 2,000. If we get there a little bit early, then that's not the worst thing in the world. We can level out, and that's fine. Don't have, even though we have New York Center, I don't have an ATIS specific for Kennedy, but I'm going to jump over to Active Sky. Let's just see what Active Sky has to say. Out of the north at 5, partly cloudy, 3042. Wow, high pressure, so probably windy. On the ground, not too bad, actually. No, not too bad. So we do have, yeah, nothing here to really worry too much about. Few at 2,500 feet at 5,000. Some overcast, you know. So there's going to be a little bit of cloudiness heading in. So an ILS approach is probably
in
our future here.
Offline, radio services terminated.
We are needing, by the way, Terminal 1 at Kennedy. Historically, that was the terminal that was used. So Terminal 1 is right here, I believe. No, I just did that upside down. Sorry. Uh-oh. Center, where did you go? Terminal 1 is over here, this little spot. So with the wind, we're probably going to get 4 right or 4 left. More likely than not 4 right. So it's going to be a heck of a taxi because it's going to take us every bit of 4 right to slow down. So there's a good chance we'll maybe be able to catch Fox Bravo to Fox Alpha. And then probably on Fox all the way, maybe Alpha here, but we may have to go up here to Yankee and come back down as well. So just a little bit of a precursor here. If we are ILS 4 right, we're going to need 109.5. We're going to need an approach course of 44. Our elevation's 13. Minimum's 212. We're going to be going around, if we're going around, we're going to take a right-hand turn to 4,000 out to the Deer Park VR. We're going to hold out there at Deer Park. Boy, last night I flew in the, probably shouldn't admit this, but I flew in the, I've got AFC. I've lost everything here. What's happened? I've got a fault somewhere. What's going on here, guys? What's going on? Battery. Yep. What's up? What? Why are we failing? That's not good. Okay, this is a huge problem. I've actually lost all of... Okay, I've lost electrical. I gotta be that guy here, maybe. And declare emergency. I have no idea what anything is right now as far as... I have... My INS is still giving me... a heading. But I have no idea what my altitude or my speed is. My engines are very, very low. Probably because I was descending so rapidly. I don't even know what I'm... Oh boy, this is bad. I gotta figure this out, but it's hard to do while I'm... I don't know what's going on here. That shouldn't matter. What if I need to start my APU? I'm gonna do that. I have never had this system failure before, guys, and so this is interesting. Okay, I can't see that. I've completely went off my... It's not letting me turn on my autopilot because that's no longer functional. So, all right, this is suddenly has gotten interesting. What was supposed to be pretty mundane is now a huge issue. I don't have APU power either. That's not coming up yet. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Alright. So here's what I'm going to try to do. Let's just get it leveled out. Let's see if it'll hold for just a second. I'm going to try to get this thing... I better be careful. I don't want to stall. Alright, so I do have an altitude here, and I am climbing. So I have a little bit of... I can use my wet compass up here for direction. I do have this altimeter working, so I have basic navigation, but I'm going to have to declare an emergency here if I can't get this figured out, because as it's showing here, I am, well, I actually don't know what this is. This may be trying to tune this VOR. Okay. Well. Alright, Sea Isle is 14.8. That's where we're supposed to be heading. I'm going to see if I can at least tune that in. If I can tune that in, I've got a shot at least kind of heading where I'm supposed to be heading. I'm going to turn this off. I'm not going to even try to use the FMS. This is basically useless now. I was when I departed Snow Hill, I was supposed to be on a 034. So that was my last known outbound. So I can at least try to get myself to there. I wonder if I can have a little bit of... Nope, I can't even have that. Alright, so 034. I'm going to try to at least follow that. And I am... Am I climbing? Yeah, I don't need to be climbing. Alright, well, this guy's going to love me here because I don't know exactly yet what to do here. Let me pop over here for another second. I can see where the failure is, but for the life of me, I don't know how to reset it. Breakers. Trip. Can't close that. Can I? Does that reset it? Yeah, I don't have APU, so I can't even do APU power. Okay, I'm gonna turn that back off. Yeah, we're losing our... I've got about 30 seconds. I can look back there to try to figure out what's going on. There's no chance. There's no way in heck that I'm going to be able to... Bus volts. Yep, Stand by. Nope. Yeah, I don't have... Well, I am going to just have to try to bring this in visually, and this is going to be quite the challenge. So flight number 1 of Historic Flights is turning into a bit more than I had hoped. Alright, let's take one more quick peek over there and just see if there's anything else that jumps out at me here. Generator 1. Those all look about the same. Yeah, I just don't have any way to reset anything. This stuff is all useless now. Standby power even, I don't... Yep, that's... Okay, that's coming back on here at least. Gaining altitude again, which I don't want to do that. Alright. Hoo boy. Well, I don't know how long we'll have standby power. At least I can get back into heading mode. At least I can start the descent. I'm going to contact center. New York Center, Eastern 108 Heavy.
Eastern 108 Heavy, correct?
Yes, sir. We've had an electrical malfunction. Have lost most of our instrumentation. I'd like to declare emergency and like to plot a course directly to Kennedy if able.
Eastern 108, copy that. Are you able to navigate on your own, or you do heading?
Right now we're on standby power. I do have I have a wet compass and an altimeter that's working, and so I can fly vectors right now, and I have some idea of my altitude. Eastern 108 Heavy.
Alright, Eastern 108 Heavy. Let's just fly heading to 040, maintain a flight level 180.
Okay, 040, and we'll descend to 180, Eastern 108 Heavy. Alright, we'll ride this standby power as long as we're able. I have no idea. I wonder if I have standby power, if I can do this, if I can get the APU going. Which should, in theory, that should provide me with standby power really for the duration of... Okay, there comes APU. Alright, so our little fill... What the heck was that? DC standby bus. I'm gonna have to figure out what the heck that was. That was really strange. So far though, we're okay. At least for now. So we're heading down to 18,000, and we do have our airspeed is stabilized. That's good. Okay, well, sometimes these things happen. This is not what I was hoping for, but if we can get this guy on the ground here without any more major incidences, I'll be happy. I see the coast here, so I think we are generally on the right track. I honestly have very little idea of where we're at. I'm going to need to do some checking. So this is tuned in right now to, what did I say, Sea Isle. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this course, because it looks like we're about 30 miles from Sea Isle, but we're to the right of it. But I don't know if... I think we maybe are past it. Yep, I think we're past it there. If I spin this back, will it... Okay, there we go. So we are north of Sea Isle now, 33 miles.
Thank you so much for this time,
and, okay, so that gives us an idea. So we're actually in the descent right now. We're in the Cameron for arrival. Okay.
Mickey 405. I sent a text message with your clearance there. Did you get that?
So let's pull the Cameron 4 up.
Let me check it because it's my
And let's see what we are needing to be expecting here.
In this cargo box. Let me check.
Okay, there it is. Cameron 4. So he's wanting us down there in Hogs at 180. Hogs was 38 miles from... Alright, so that's where we are. We're right now at about Hogs. I would say roughly at Hogs. And we are quite... We're pretty close. We're 230. We're trying to get down there. And got us heading about 040, so we must have been kind of out here a little bit. So instead of, we're a little bit more northbound. Okay, I've got a feel for now where we're at. And the only thing I'm a little worried about is this cloud activity. I don't know if it's going to interfere with our ability to fly an ILS approach.
Advisory to taxi, expect runway 22 right for departure. Expect runway 22 right for departure, call you when ready for taxi, America 435.
So I think this is maybe the first time I've actually ever declared emergency on VATSIM. And I don't know if that was the right procedure, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Looks like, for the most part, things are back online to an extent.
Eastern 108 heavy, Eastern 11,000.
Down to 11,000, Eastern 108 heavy. Alright, down we go. Definitely don't know this aircraft well enough to troubleshoot emergencies. Boy, the little guy upstairs is unhappy. Alright, well, the APU appears to be providing good power. At least for now. I do need to probably just put the fasten seatbelt, no smoking back on. I am going to go ahead and run through my checklist here just to make sure descent. Alright, we have ice protection not needed, windshield heat as required, no smoking, seatbelts are on. 180. Again, we had from Active Sky 3040 is the altimeter. So we're going to spin that up. Okay. And let's see, the approach, it's going to be pretty much straight in to runway 4 right. We are looking at, again, an ILS frequency of 109.5. We're going to consider this right now as us being on our vector to final, so we're going to tune that in. And our approach course is 044. We're going to go ahead and tune that in. So yeah, as you can see, we're heading right now 040, so we're pretty close to straight in, which is exactly what we need, because I honestly don't know. I'm assuming, because this is how we start the plane, that you can use APU power to run the standby power, but close head up just so nobody turns it off. But I don't know. We don't have lost to DMEs here. We don't have obviously everything working like it should. Really, with the APU going too. The other thing I don't know is we turn off the pack flow and the ATM for engine start. Now you wouldn't want to do that because that controls the hydraulics here, and we need all that. And we obviously don't want to turn off the air conditioners and the heaters, as would be the case right now at altitude. But
Eastern 108, coming in, yeah, coming out somewhere 3040. With 4 right or 22 left?
I think we'll take the straight in to 4 right and 3040 for the altimeter, Eastern 108.
Eastern 108, roger that. Turn left, 360, descend and maintain 4,000.
Left turn 360, descend and maintain 4,000, Eastern 108. Alright. Okay, my pulse rate is come back down a little bit here.
Good afternoon.
With every mile closer we get, the better I feel about things. We do need to consider, I'm going to look at this here real fast, but actually the first thing I need to do is I need to get my speed down. 240, well, let's go 230. We're going to be below 10,000.
Next 3145, ready contact 25 west of Carmel, flight level 320.
Alright, alternate airports if we need it at this point. We do have...
We're actually posting and stuff on 340.
I see us being about right here. We do have Coil Field. Boy, oh boy.
I
think this is an option. 1,800 feet. No, that's not going to be an option for us. No, I think Kennedy is our best bet right now because everything else is just as far away. Wilmington, Woodston, those are all Philadelphia, Painfield, Yardley, those guys are all Robbinsville, maybe. Trenton, Robbinsville. You go RNAV. I can't go RNAV, but it gives me a feel for. Now that's 4,000 feet. Boy, that'd be pushing it. I don't know if I can get this thing stopped at 4,000 feet. Well, I think we're pretty much. We do have Colts Neck. Hot Brooks Farm. No, I don't think I'm going to put it down at Hot Brooks Farm. Alright, we don't have a lot of options here, guys. It's Kennedy or bust at this point. Alright, we're below 10,000. Landing lights are coming on. A little nervous about everything I turn on right now, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to trip that fault again. But we're going to go ahead and roll with it. Yeah, so at the first sign of trouble, I would be reaching down to find the emergency. Well, actually, I wouldn't. My first officer, downwind sim, wherever he went, be reaching down to find that emergency procedures manual. We've been working through checklists left and right. But when you're a one-man gang in a three-man cockpit, that's just not in the cards.
And John 71 just ready to contact about southeast of Stony Fork for level 430.
And no, I don't want a repeat of the Miracle in the Hudson. I am not Sully. This is not an Airbus. Keep our eye here just to see. I don't know, this may or may not come alive. We may or may not be able to fly the ILS approach, but looking at this, I'm seeing potentially some okay visibility if we get low enough. Again, from the report here, most of the clouds stop at 4,000, which is where we're going to level. One of the reports did say that there was some fog.
Eastern 108, turn right heading more. Eastern 1, turn right heading 010.
Right turn 010, Eastern 108. Oh baby, okay, that's a good thing. We might be able to do this after all. Let's get leveled off.
Level 2294
It's hazy here.
Clock 657.
I I will arm the approach once we get a little bit closer.
2294 squawk 657 6657.
Squawk 6657 6657.
Giant 7159 cross
leveling.
channel
That's
and
good.
maintain flight level 230.
Your speed is, I'm going to keep it right there.
We'll cross channel at flight level 230, Giant 71. Delta 2294, ready contact, 30 miles north
I'm
of
going to try to keep that speed up until I have
Cross the valley, that's to maintain 8,000. The
visual at least of the
3038.
coastline there by Kennedy.
About 8,000 meters altimeter, please.
Delta 2294, altimeter 3038.
So here's the haze that one of the reports did talk about. Overcast 3,500, so, and overcast 2,500. So we will be able to descend below it eventually, but right now
FedEx 787 descending through.
it's going to be a little bit of a factor.
280, 16 miles southwest Nottingham.
Now don't freeze on me, Sim. Come on, baby.
Eastern 108 heavy, turn right heading 020, descend to maintain 4,000, correction, descend to maintain 2,000.
Right turn 020, descend and maintain 2,000, Eastern 108. Okay, right turn 020.
FedEx 787, the integrated afternoon squawk.
And down to 2,000. This should get me below all of my fog
6675,
issues.
FedEx, so,
There's the other side, so we can go ahead and bring our, maybe, I don't know if it's the weather or what. Scenery load now.
FedEx 787, the contact that was reported, cross Atlas and maintain 10,000. Speed is your discretion. Expect that
We are still a little
landing
bit
gear.
right of course here,
yeah, so at 10,000.
but we're going to be hopefully coming in and intercepting the runway, which should be off
FedEx
to this side.
Eastern 108, fielded at 1 o'clock, 15 miles, port in sight.
Okay, we're looking for the field Eastern 108. Yep, it's just right now kind of hazy and could be right there, middle of my windscreen. I'm going to arm the approach just because it might see it before we do. And 16 miles. I do have my DME that's come back in, which is good. It's just hazy right now. It's right out there. I know it. I know it.
Eastern 108, if you can, you could join the 4-right localizer on present heading.
I will join the 4-right localizer. Yeah, it's a little hazy right now. We still don't have the field, but it looks like we are established on the localizer, Eastern 108. Put a notch of flaps in.
Eastern 108, copy that. Can you take the ILS approach?
I currently have localizer and glide slope, so I would say a firm Eastern 108 heavy.
108 excellent. You are 8 miles from the B. Maintain 2,000. Until established on the localizer, clear ILS runway 4 right approach.
Maintain 2,000 until maintain 2,000 until established, clear for the ILS 4 right approach Eastern 108 heavy.
Delta 2294, turn left,
All right.
heading 190.
Hopefully this won't
maintain
happen,
8,000.
but if it does, the go around, just to refresh my memory, which that was what I was about to talk to when all this
Delta
happened.
2294, you got it, heading
We're gonna climb
190, descend to maintain
to
8,000.
4,000, and we're gonna hold at Deer Park.
Left 190.
Oh man, I got below my below my altitude.
So Delta 2294, vectors to the ILS runway 22 approach.
All right, dang it, got below my altitude. Need to climb. Got a little bit low. climbing back up. There's my 4 right. Try to get back up. So yeah, last night's approach on the Friday Night Ops was interesting. I had a late handoff, ended up going around, and then I just absolutely, completely botched the go around. Alright, well, we're getting back up to 2,000. Here comes our glide slope though, and that may take over before we get back to 2,000. We're looking for, again, an approach speed of about 160 and ref speed somewhere around 150. Alright, glide slope has us. We'll go ahead and toss in a second notch of flaps. We're going to put the gear down. We're going to slow down to our 160. This can now be spun up to 4,000 if we have to go around. It would be turning 099 if we were on the go around, so we'll put that in just in case we need it. But everything's looking pretty good at this point. Alright, gears down, 3 green, lights are on. Dare turn off the autopilot. I'm going to take it down as far as I can here. But I do need a minute to kind of get control of things. Okay, we're going to go flaps. .32, I think, is where we are.
Delta 2294, turn left.
700. We're going to take this down to kind of to minimums here. I don't know how to auto land this. I don't know that I would be able to even, but...
4,170.
Alright, here we go, baby. It's not liking us. I think we're okay here, buddy.
Eastern 108, I'm talking 1306, full right clear land.
4 right clear to land, Eastern 108, not a problem. Yeah, this could be a part of the failure that's just not quite liking where we are. And we might be a little low. We're definitely a little left here. I don't think we're too bad. Alright, we're there. We are down. Little guy's not happy about something. Whew, I forgot to do the auto brake. Go manual braking here. We're only at about 90. Yeah, we're gonna catch that first high speed, which is good. Okay.
You got a 2011 runway 22 right, taxi to left on bow. Echo,
eventful.
cross runway 31 right.
Holy cow. I did not expect that.
Did you right, via the left line, and then one right, 42011. Eastern 108, welcome to New York. Continue on Foxtrot, left on Yankee. Juliet Alpha to the right, cross runway for the left.
Foxtrot, Yankee, Juliet, Alpha to the ramp. Thanks for your help, man. I really appreciate it. That was a little bit stressful. That was a good job, air traffic. Okay, holy cow. I've got all kinds of failures here. This could be interesting. I have no idea. No idea how, if I'm going to make it or not. I don't have any warnings over here. That's interesting. Alright.
Yeah, 7159,
figured out once we get to our gate, which, by the way,
Maintain level 19,
I need to call up here.
Delta 2294, turn right heading 190, intercept the runway 22 localizer.
Not getting very good frames right now. Apologize for that, but I'm just happy we're on the ground and Flight 1 is in the books here without us
Delta 2294, turn right
putting
heading
it
190, intercept
down
the
in the
runway.
Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so much to debrief. Let's wait till we get to the gate if we can.
190,
Landing lights off,
190,
taxi
intercept
lights.
the
I don't really
localizer.
even need taxi lights. It's nice out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Forgot to do the continuous ignition also. Boy, lots of stuff that I didn't do right there, but at the end, right? Fly the plane, fly the plane, fly the plane.
F109,
Gate
you're
8.
returning to Boston
That's where
Airport.
we're going. Gate 8.
The radar vector is direct, maintaining 5,000, squawk 6664.
Gate 8, there we go. No, I don't need to follow me. I think I know where I'm going, actually.
49, your back is correct, is ready for taxi. Expect
Yeah, let's
runway
find out.
22 for departure.
What could go wrong, right? We'll borrow the U.S.
FedEx 787, you can expect those ILS 9 right approach. They're altimeter 3037.
3037, expected
We're
right
heading
right.
down here to Juliet.
FedEx 787 Heavy.
Downwind Sim asks the magic question. Looks like we made it. Any issues? Well, really, no, except for a complete electrical failure at the entrance to the arrival. Other than that, it was a smooth, routine flight. Yeah, you just missed like 20 minutes of me wetting my pants, basically. Holy cow.
I'm sorry, Delta 2294.
Alright, here comes Juliet. We're gonna stay on Juliet. Cross runway 4 left.
Hey, Delta 2294, Yeoman. That's
And
the
then we're
first
going
waypoint
to,
on
that's
the
going to
approach.
turn into Alpha, and that's going to take us where we need to go. Ah,
Delta 7 ready for taxi, and we have the Lieutenant at 3040 even.
okay, our turn on to Juliet.
Where's the last 7 calling? Right 7 heavy.
So you can see all the red lights here.
Good evening, runway 22 right.
So picture all of that plus literally every part of my six-pack
Delta
was
Bravo.
non-functional right now. I flew for
Echo, cross runway 2
about
right.
10 minutes using this altimeter
We'll continue
and
watching outside
this compass.
Echo, cross 31 Vasco 22 right, left 7 heavy. Thank you.
ultimately what I did was I turned the APU back on. Well, I turned on the standby power from armed to on, and then I turned on the APU, and that
You're not explaining them?
kept
Are you
enough
ready?
power to the airport, or to the airplane, for me to at
United
least get in.
2011, flying heading, wind 130 at 6, runway
And basically, I
2
shot the
right,
whole
clear
entire ILS approach. So I mean, really, at the end of the day, it was didn't look a whole heck of a lot different than your typical ILS. But man, there was a moment of trepidation in there. Okay, Terminal 1, Gate 8. It looks like there's a dude parked there.
You're runway 22.
That guy right there, I think, is in my spot. No, I'm down. I see the double gates down there is where I need to be.
20 at 6, runway 22, clear to land.
Terminal 1. So you'll have to go back and watch. You'll have to see what I did. I didn't follow one checklist because it was literally just trying to keep the plane straight and level and look back at the engineer's panel for 30 seconds, come back, re-level the aircraft, do it again 4 or 5 times, and just think my way through entire situation.
Airport 06.
Actually, I don't know if it, I think that is coming up as my correct spot where I need to be. I maybe should have, nope, I can see, well, that big boy
109,
might be in my way.
you take off in that fast with you there?
Well, you know what, we're going to take this guy right here. Alright, somebody is saying, Center's checking in, saying, awesome stream, I appreciate
109,
that.
you have enough runway to take off. You got about
I appreciate your help.
from the Yankee
I
intersection.
am not that guy that is Mr. Declare Emergency on VATSIM, but I felt like it was, I needed help, and you gave me great help tonight, so thank you very much. I love flying into and out of this area.
60.
Glad you were online. I
6 runway 22.
don't know what I would have done if it would have been no ATC. Well, I kind of do know what I would have done. I probably would have not landed successfully. Alright, well, unfortunately, I think all of our
FedEx 787, you can maintain 8,000.
all of our stuff here is, oh no, there's gate 8.
770.
We're in business.
Driving 7159, turn right heading 160, descend to maintain
Alright.
16,000.
Can also do
Record
this.
22 left approach, Kennedy out, simulator 3.
Turn the weather off, because I
3040.
don't think that's very good on the people that
Right,
are
16, right, one,
doing the
160
ground.
down to 16,000, expect, ILS, vectors
I have a-
for the,
I don't have a marshal or anything here. I don't know.
United 2011, air
At this
contact,
point in
turn left
time,
heading 060, climb and maintain
That's the
11,000.
least of my worries. Well, thank you. If you were watching tonight, or if you caught it later on, I appreciate you being a part of this first ever historic route.
145, leaving airspace to the west,
And,
actually to the south.
here's to
Washington Center
hoping that
flying radar services terminated. Frequency change to advisories approved.
the others that I have planned are a little bit less exciting.
Hello to advisory, we'll
Although
see
I
you
don't know,
later.
maybe you like it
7165.
like this. But yeah, if you enjoyed this route, this is what I do on the stream. It's a combination of vintage aircraft and bush flying, basically. And so I will throw in the more modern aircraft from time to time, but basically, I like the older aircraft. I like the non-traditional, non-GPS driven navigation, and yeah, I like history. I like aviation history. But right now, I'd like to shut this baby down, so let's do it. Parking brake set, fuel.
And drive 7159, turn right heading 80.
Set. There's, excuse
Right,
me,
180,
fuel shut off levers
71.
off. Transponder is going to go off. Weather radar too late, already turned it off. I can tell them they can unbutton their seat belts, unfasten, unbutton. Anti-ice not needed, POs not needed, ignition off. INS can be turned
Lot
off.
7 heavy, fly runway heading, wind 130 at 6, runway 22 right, clear for takeoff.
This is a weird little
Clear
bug.
for takeoff, 22 left, and runway heading left.
Connect the external power. Turn that off. Alright, external power is on.
United 2011, proceed direct merit, climb and maintain 17,000.
Man, I tell you what, I don't know if I want to connect external power. Something might blow up.
Direct merit, then climb, 10,000. Giant 7159, you can maintain 13,000.
So I had a major bus fail there somewhere, and I don't know. Well, yeah, I just don't know,
And the
guys,
second
what
round
happened
passing
there.
your center will be closing in 10 minutes.
Recirc fans, compressors, so none of that stuff applies to me. This is actually part of, part of what I had done in the past with my DC-8. Is this still on? It is still on. We're going to turn it off.
Speed 190.
190 will reach
Turn the
6,000.
master
FedEx
power
787
off
heavy.
for the APU, and battery off. Yeah, we're there. We're just on external power right now. And that's it for today. All right. So, again, thanks so much, guys. If you tuned in, appreciate it. And Monday, Wednesday, Saturday is the normal streaming day for me. And I'll have the occasional bonus stream here and there, but this is kind of when I like to stream. Usually it's right around midnight Zulu, which is about 8 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. So look for me then, and I will be looking for you guys on TCAS. In the meantime, hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Again, thanks for tuning in. Take care. God bless.
Excellent.